balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Mainstream media is slowly collapsing. It's becoming more and more obvious of the corruption that's going on in the world, and it's becoming more and more obvious that these news companies are designed to divide the American people. They're designed to radicalize political beliefs. CNN is very liberal. Fox News is very Republican. You like either one or the other. You can't like both of them, you can't watch both of them, and you can't like someone that watches the other one. So what does this lead to? Obviously, heaps of division and controversy within the American people. We have never been more divided as a country. This is causing people to depend on independent creators for their news, leading us towards the mainstream media collapse. Now let's talk about why this is happening. Over the past couple of decades, we have relied on mainstream media for our news, for reliable information about the state of the world, the state of the economy, and tips to be healthier. For example, you know that food pyramid that you saw in your school that was hung up on every single wall saying that you need to eat a bunch of grains? 7 servings of grains a day is the healthiest portion. Well, it turns out that that is absolutely false. Food pyramid was basically sold to the highest bidder, and the grain industry just so happened to be the highest bidder. Thanks to independent researchers like Paul Saladino and others who are doing their own research, diving into actual clinical studies, it's been proved, for example, that seed oils are not healthy for you, although they have been promoted as heart healthy. But there is evidence to support that it has been funded to be claimed as heart healthy. And there is heaps of evidence that show that it clogs your arteries, but they don't want that out there, and they will fund as many things as they can to keep that suppressed. Promoted to profit, to make money off of the American people's illnesses. Likely what caused the biggest influx of people waking up to how the corruption is Rona in 2020. It's becoming more and more obvious how the media makes its money off promoting things that paralyze the audience with fear. Just look at this CNN employee stating how climate change is the next pandemic.
They've already announced in our office that once the public will be open to it, we're going to start focusing mainly on climate like global warming, and it's going to be our focus.
So that's like the next
pandemic story that will beat to death. But that one's got longevity. You know what I mean?
What we need to understand is that these companies, these news outlets, are just a business like everything else. Capitalistic, and they have one thing in mind. It's not the truth, it's profit. They make money off of retention. The fear keeps you in a low vibration, and it keeps you coming back. People get addicted to fear. They get addicted to worrying, not knowing that they are. This fearful propaganda is what drives people to wear a mask in their car, driving by themselves, being scared of air. And people are tired of living in a fearful state. They are finally waking up and realizing who is really pulling the strings. And it just so happens to be the billionaires. Who is actually pulling the strings? Well, when I was looking for the actual owners of the companies, you can't find who the owner is. It'll tell you that, say, Fox News is owned by Warner Bros, and then you look up who is Warner Bros owned by, and it says Warner Bros Discovery. They make you do a maze, essentially, to find who's really behind these companies because they don't want it to be public information. When we consider the fact that companies like BlackRock, giant hedge funds, own large percentages of these companies, don't forget Vanguard, they own CNN and Fox and Netflix, it really makes you start to question what is their intention behind dividing everybody. The same people who are saying things like this.
They don't want to be in the news. They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar.
Why not?
I don't know, but I suspect it's probably because it's easier to do things when people aren't thinking about it.
All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians. You can take this big ton of money, and then you can start to buy people. I could give you 500K right now, no questions asked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. We're done.
Does everybody do that? Does BlackRock do that?
It doesn't matter who wins.
You're so good.
They're my pocket at this point.
We know that Larry Fink, the owner of BlackRock, is good buddies with the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, and Bill Gates, who have incomprehensible diabolical plans to control the world. And no, this isn't conspiracy. This is true. We know that the World Economic Forum are the ones lecturing you about green energy and how climate change needs to be put to a halt, but everyone who has ever discovered free energy has wound up dead. Stan Myers, for example, was the creator of a car that could run on water. Stan Myers coincidentally died during a interview with 2 potential investors. And his last words were, "I was poisoned." There are countless other examples of things like this happening where someone has discovered free energy and they have either died by suicide or something that can't be explained. This seems a bit off topic, but it's to remind you that these people are all on the same team and they are in the game of making money and controlling the population to think that there is only one way to do everything. So the majority owner of nearly every company hangs out with the people that are saying you'll own nothing and be happy, that red meat is bad for the planet, and eat crickets. We should all be very concerned. The people want a voice that they can relate to, and they cannot relate to billionaires. And billionaires don't think that we know how to think. So what are the effects that this is having on the people? For the first time in modern history, people can actually choose where they get their information. This could be a good thing or a bad thing because you are potentially putting your trust into just an individual who has their own opinions and their own beliefs, and they're reflecting them onto you. Or you can trust a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that has been proven to lie over and over. For example, Carl Tuckerson's interview with Donald Trump had 250 million views in under 24 hours, whereas Fox News had 20 million views. TikToker Dylan Page has amassed a following over 10 million followers and averages 3.5 million views per video. We are living through an information revolution. Throughout these times, we must be intensely mindful of how we allow social media and the media to affect our mood and our vibration, our thought patterns, and our habits.
So I'm very curious as to who are some of the creators that you guys go to for reliable information, and drop them in the comments so other people can go to them as well. And if you guys want to prepare yourself for 2024, it's going to be a very crazy year. Click this video right here. Much love.